What's up everybody, my name is Chris and today in this video I want to talk about the DCM2 made by CKMOVA. Now as a disclaimer, this microphone was sent to me by CKMOVA so that I can review it on this channel, but as always I'm gonna try and stay as honest as possible about my opinion about this microphone, as well as giving you comparisons so that you can listen in for yourself to hear whether or not you like the sound of this microphone. Now, first up, what you get is basically this little wrapper around a box, which basically has a content that looks like this. So you have a microphone up here, which looks more intimidating than it actually is, and I will talk about that in a moment. We have two holders, and those are for one, the cold shoe mount like this, so you can put it on top of your camera. And then we also have this one, which is basically an adapter for a microphone stand. However, it does not come with any adapter screws. So this is the biggest microphone stand hole that I know, and usually you will need some type of adapter to mount this to something like, for example, a boom arm, to a microphone stand and similar things. So I've really never used anything that has this big a screw, but I know adapters for this type of stuff. So when you have that, then this becomes universally usable on pretty much any microphone stand. Then you also get a microphone cable. This is a balanced XLR cable, and it's something between 3 and 5 meters long. And of course, we also have the foam windscreen for this microphone. And with this foam windscreen though, you already see one thing, and that is that the capsule on this microphone itself, as you see that the microphone tends to be a little bit on the longer side, the capsule itself is just right here in the front where you also can put the microphone windscreen. And that also made out the reason why I chose to compare this microphone to the Rode VideoMic NTG throughout this video, or at least at the end of this video, because as you can see, the microphone capsule is pretty much identical in length. It is really a very small difference. Now the reason why I think this microphone still is as long as it is because here in the back you can screw this off, and what gets revealed is this port here for a AA battery. And the reason why you might need this is because this microphone being a XLR microphone, you usually want to run this with 48 volts of phantom power. However, if you don't have phantom power available on the camera that you're using, or maybe you want to adapt the XLR here to a TRS, then you don't have 48 volt phantom power that way, or you have a recorder that does not provide 48 volt phantom power, then you can power this microphone with a AA battery, and you can just turn it on that way. That can be really useful. However, I have been doing all of the tests here in the studio with phantom powers provided from the Zoom F6 audio recorder. All of the samples have been recorded in 32-bit float so that I can then later on do loudness normalization and take a listen, and you can also take a listen to that normalized audio without any further effects. Now in this microphone, you also get a little switch right here, which goes from off to on and then to a high pass or low cut filter. Essentially meaning you can turn it off, which means that it doesn't drain the battery or has a connection to the other stuff, like for example your audio recorder. You can put it on, then of course it's turned on. And if you turn it onto the high pass or low cut filter, then you are cutting out about 150 hertz from the low end. So this might be useful if you are, for example, filming outside and you have the rumbling or the wind kind of noises in the microphone, then this can be really useful. However, personally, I choose to usually do my post-processing afterwards. Whenever I can, I use a 32-bit float recorder for devices like this, and that gives me much more room to play with in the post-processing instead of having it baked in right from the start, because then you really have to make sure that you're not losing any frequencies that you might want to add or have later on. And I found that this low cut filter really is kind of extreme. It made myself sound pretty tinny, and you will hear that in a bit in the sound samples. Now generally, this microphone should have a response from 20 Hz all the way up to 20,000 Hz, which is pretty much the whole range of motion. And then we also have a signal to noise ratio of 75 dB SPL, so that's pretty reasonable, I would say. The housing is a full metal build, so that is really stable, and it is really lightweight when it is without a battery, and even with a AA battery, you can easily use this as a boom microphone in terms of its weight. Now, however, let's jump into the listening to this microphone so that you can make yourself a picture about whether or not you like the sound of this microphone. One thing before we start with that, I did not do outdoor testing. I might do this in a future video when I also want to compare different types of microphones in an outdoor setting. And this type of supercardioid microphone might be interesting there, and it might actually be more interesting there than it is in the setting that I am using in this studio here, because supercardioid microphones might be a bit more prone to picking up their room tone and echoes and those kind of things, which is not as prevalent in other microphones, like for example the pencil type Oktava MK012, which I am using overhead here in my studio. However, I will also include other microphone tests with the Oktava MK012 and also with the Rode VideoMic NTG so that you can listen to those. However, those comparisons will be at the end of this video, so we are focusing on this microphone for now. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever to flow if you will keep digging. Now that you've heard the DCM2, I wonder what your thoughts are about this microphone, and please leave them in the comment section down below. I would love to hear from you what you think about the sound of this mic. Personally, I think it sounds relatively shrill, and this is even more pronounced when you are activating the 150 Hz low cut or high pass filter. Then I have a feeling it becomes unbearable, at least for my ears, which again is one of the reasons why I don't use filters built into microphones generally speaking, except for maybe when I want to do some kind of a live performance. Then it can be really useful. However, if you have the opportunity for post-processing, then I would recommend you not activate those types of filters, because you might actually be able to just do all of that in post-processing, and you have way more fine control over which frequencies to cut and which ones you want to keep. So that's one thing to keep in mind. I also found, interestingly, that it seemed to be clipping when I was using it really close to my mouth and was speaking into it. Now, this might also be because of the plosives and the wind pressure that the microphone might not be able to handle. However, the interesting thing is that on the website, they are showing a reporter using this in this kind of a setup, and there you really have to be careful to not put this up all too close to yourself. This is not a microphone made for that. Maybe if you are just holding it like a couple of centimeters away from you, then it can work quite nicely. But if you are bringing this too close, then you are going to have clipping in the microphone, and not even a 32-bit float audio recorder will be able to recover that. Now, on the contrary, when you are putting the sound source further away from the microphone, then I found that it sounds pretty decent. Now, again, when you are indoors, these types of microphones are not ideal because you have echo from the walls and those kind of things. So that is something to always keep in mind. And potentially in those environments, a pencil type microphone like the Oktava MK012 would be a better choice. However, if you are going to be outside, this seems to be a better fit. What I was positively surprised by was the use when I had it in the overhead position right here. So as the microphone that I usually use here in the studio, there I found that the sound was pretty acceptable. However, that kind of changed when I was comparing it to what I usually use up here, and that's also the reason why I don't really want to change this anytime soon. I will keep the Oktava MK012 up there, and again, you will find experiments and also sound tests later in this video where I will compare this, and you can hear that for yourself, which one you might want to prefer. Now, sadly, the excitement about the overhead position was also relatively short-lasting, because I then also chose to put on headphones to listen for any details and noise floor and those kind of things, and there, this microphone did not necessarily put up with other microphones that I have here in my kit. the noise floor was pretty substantial, and I was able to hear it in pretty much all of the tests that I was doing, no matter if I was close to the microphone or far away. Of course, it gets more pronounced as you go further away because you have to put up more gain to get back the microphone. However, if you are bringing this close to yourself and you have it a couple of like 20, 30 centimeters away in an overhead position and those kind of things, you might be able to get away with the noise floor, especially if you put background noise or background music in some kind of way. Then this microphone might be really workable for you. However, if you just have nothing there, then it becomes really prevalent that there is a noise floor present. Now, comparing the DCM2 to other microphones like the Oktava MK012, which I have covered extensively here on the channel, and you can check out other videos linked in the description down below, that is my favorite overhead microphone when I am here in the studio. It's an XLR condenser hypercardioid capsule that I use on this microphone, and it's of course also running into the Zoom F6. And I also compared it to the Rode VideoMic NTG, which is a TRS-based microphone, so it can be connected to either a phone or a camera. And this here also is battery powered, just like this one if you put in a battery. And of course, I used this compared or combined with the Zoom F6 with the adapter Rode VXLR Pro to be able to also record a 32-bit float XLR-based audio signal. Now, the comparison between this and this is kind of unfair because the Rode costs almost twice as much as the DCM2, so keep this in mind. The same thing is true for the Oktava MK012, which is also significantly more expensive than the DCM2. However, comparing microphones in this way helps me to give you a better picture in terms of what might be possible if you are able to spend a little more money. And those comparisons you will find at the end of this video because I didn't want to include all of that right here. So you can stick around to that and listen in on those comparisons. Now, my opinion about these comparisons is, again, the disclaimer, those other microphones are significantly more expensive than the DCM2. However, they might give you a better feature set. Specifically, the Rode VideoMic NTG, if for example you are looking for an on-camera microphone. There, this microphone here gives you, in my opinion, a better sound, less noise floor. It has more features, and you can check out a video about this specific microphone as it being my most favorite microphone and the one that I recommend anyone pick up when they are looking for some type of microphone to use as a podcast, on-camera, or overhead type microphone. Now, this might not give you the same result if you are actually outdoors, if you want to have something that has the further reach and those kind of things. And of course, also if you want to record a XLR-based signal, because then you would also need another adapter for this microphone like the VXLR Pro or Plus. And then I also mentioned the MK012, which I use out of frame right here. And that has been my over-the-head microphone for the last year and a half or something like that here in the studio. And I just love that it has much more of a low end, presenting my voice with a deeper tone. It also has way less of a noise floor, but again, for a higher price point. And it is a pencil type microphone, which is ideal for indoors, but not necessarily for outdoor use. So those were the microphones that I was able to compare this to, and I thought that made sense. Now, my recommendation in terms of the DCM2 made by CKMOVA is that I would pick this up if you're specifically looking for example, an inexpensive boom microphone, which you want to be able to either power via a AA battery or 48-volt phantom power. You want to put this onto a boom arm. You're not necessarily concerned with the noise floor because you might be able to have something like background music or other sound effects running, and that might be able to then cover that up. And you want something that is XLR based, and that is one of your criteria. And of course, if you want to stick with this price point, because at the price point, it is a solid build, it is a solid microphone, and it gives you the features and of course also the sound that you might need to further your career or your project that you are working on. Now again, after the outro, you will find those comparisons with the Oktava MK012, the Rode VideoMic NTG, and the CKMOVA DCM2, so you can check out those after this. Of course, if you have any thoughts about this, any questions about any of these microphones, you can leave those in the comment section down below. And you will also find links to all of these microphones in the description, and of course also other videos you might find interesting. And with all that said, I hope you have an amazing day, improve your audio with new microphones, and I will see you in the next video. Ciao, ciao! Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever ready to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever ready to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever ready to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever ready to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever ready to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever ready to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever ready to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever ready to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever ready to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever ready to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever ready to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever ready to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever ready to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever ready to flow if you will keep digging.